This is a HeadGum podcast.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to A Funny Feeling Podcast. I'm Betsy Sidaro.
And I'm Marcy Jarrow. This is a podcast where comedians tell us their paranormal experiences, and we listen to yours as well.
Oh, yeah. And if you have one of these paranormal experiences that you want to share with us, please email it to us at funnyfeelingpod@gmail.com.
Now get cozy.
And prepare yourself to be scared silly.
This is a Funny Feeling podcast. Betsy.
Marcy.
I am so excited about our guest.
Me too.
'Cause
I'm so excited.
We haven't had a guest enough guests this past 2 years.
I know. We've been,
slacking, and we're very excited. This person has recently authored a new audiobook called So You Need to Decide, and she's also the creator and host of UnCabaret. Welcome to the podcast, Beth Lapides.
Hello.
Did I do it? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
You
Marcy,
nailed
Betsy,
it.
and that was just perfect.
Thank you. Welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with in the woo woo zone.
Welcome to the woo-woo zone.
I love it. It's my favorite zone. I'm just so excited.
That's a good start. That's a very good start.
That's a huge start for this podcast. Is somebody being excited about being here?
Yeah. You just wrote a new, it's funny, like when I was saying you wrote an audiobook, then I was like, yeah, you write those. Yeah. They get written.
Is that right? Is that the right way to say it? I mean, you don't read it, but you do write
Exactly,
it. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like TV, same thing.
Yeah.
So tell us about your new audiobook.
Well, it's called So You Need to Decide, and it's a quilt of conversations that I had with some of just funniest, smartest people that I know, and then my own story. And it's about decision making and specific decisions. So there's 5 chapters, one on work, one on family, one on spirituality, one on moving, and one on family, spirituality, moving, and love. It's always funny which one you forget on what day. They always say the 7 deadly sins, the one you can't remember is the one you really need to work on. So it's 8.5 hours, and some of the people in it are Dana Gould, Judy Gold, Julia Sweeney, Meryl Marco, Sandra Bernhard, Margaret Cho, Byron Bowers, Guy Branum, Bob Odenkirk, Phoebe Bridgers, Scott Frank. It goes on and on. Aparna Nancherla, Alex Edelman, Baron Vaughn.
Wow. What a lineup.
It's chock full of just some of the just smartest and funniest and thoughtful. When I say smartest is sort of a funny word because it implies a certain sort of almost lockdownness. But, people who are curious and people who are thoughtful and introspective and had great stories. So some of it is about, how do you make decisions in general? Yeah. And some of it is really about what decisions have you made about having kids and not having kids and quitting jobs and how do you decide when to get married and how do you decide to close your company and how do you decide you don't believe in God anymore, and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was such an interesting process having these conversations and then shaping them into a whole thing. So it's 8.5 hours, and people, it's been so much fun. It's just out, and it's just so much fun to start to have people be having heard the whole 8.5 hours and read, Amazon reviews about how it's really helping me. Aww. And it's entertaining, but it's also helping me. So, that's nice.
That's awesome. Did you from doing this, learn how to make a decision?
I did learn some things.
You probably had to make so many.
There
were a lot of decisions in the book, and then I was making a lot of decisions while writing the book.
Yeah.
So I was like, it really felt like, what do they call that? Imposter syndrome at a certain point. I was like, I'm supposed to be, I'm not an expert though. I'm just, I was a curious person. I am pretty decisive, but even decisive people fall against, hard decisions and what to do.
Right.
And I learned a lot from people. And I just also learned compassion. I mean, one of the things that I keep hearing from people is how vulnerable everybody in the book really is, and how that the vulnerability of these people who are so accomplished and well-known and respected, it has been helping people understand that, like, this is life. This just is life. There isn't like a magic pill or some place you get to where it's going to be different than this. Some people in the book were very, I am pretty, you just have to make a decision. Finally, that's just what it is. And some people were just like, Judy Gold was just like, I can't decide why this thing. And then Dana Gould was like, well, it's like Billy Wilder says, that's what deciding is. You have to just decide. You're a director, so flip a coin. 50% of the time you'll be right. But, there was just some like great stories about Dave Holmes has an amazing story about coming out when he was really having trouble coming out and it was a very complicated and specific situation, but he said to his friends, I really need some, this is so perfect for you in this show. He said, I really need some help right now. And the door opened and in walked the Indigo Girls.
Oh my, that is incredible.
Cool.
Isn't that the woo-woo zone?
Yes.
Isn't that? So, and then he talked to them. I mean, it was like your God, part of it is like looking for guides and looking for spirit and looking for, I'm a Vedic meditator, and in Vedic meditation, they call it following the charm, and understanding how not to let your mind always get in the way of decision making. At the same time, while I was writing this book, I was fretting over the decision about whether or not to move in with my boyfriend. So, just day after day, should we move in? Should we do it? Should we do it? And I'm like, this is what I'm writing a book about. And we did.
Those are big decisions, though.
It was big decisions. Well, this is what, I learned while writing the book that there's some crazy number, like 135,842. Huge and specific number that, Google says we make every day. And, you have to imagine that they're including in that, moving your toothbrush from the left to the right.
Right, yeah.
Scrambled or overusing,
Do I get out of bed today?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're always making this, the very biggest decisions about, the deciding to be happy and deciding we want to be alive. I mean, there's, I think, especially now with what we're going through as a country and as a world, as a planet, there's certainly there's an existential crisis, and it can show up as suicidal ideation in any individual. And, this decision that you want to be alive in this world as it is and as your life is a big underlying decision. And it can complicate all the little decisions that you come against. If you're, what I learned is if you're struggling with big decisions, the little decisions seem super hard.
Yeah.
And you get into something called decision exhaustion, which I think many of us suffered from during the pandemic, because there was one easy decision, we're all going to stay home. It's horrible, but it's kind of great. I mean, we're out of work and that sucks, but also like we're nesting.
Yeah.
Like, and I loved the thing that was like, we're not all in the same boat. We're all in different boats on the same ocean, because certainly, especially women, were put in a position of, childcare and losing jobs, and it was extremely not equitable. But So, once it opened up again, are you going to wear a mask? Are you going to go out? Are you going to go, get your vaccine? Do you have doubts about that vaccine? Are you going to get them anyway? Are you going to, all the whole wash of it, and every single day with these decisions. So whether, I don't know, if you listeners are listening in the future, because I'm sure this will live in posterity, maybe it's 2033 when you're listening. We lived through a hard time. Who knows what you're living through.
It might be like 5,000 years from now. And they're like, these are our gods. Yeah.
So I learned about it. I was able to sort of define my own style, which is I do depend on my intuition. I have made I told the story about UnCabaret in depth in all those different categories, how I had decided not to have children and that was impacted by UnCabaret, and how UnCabaret sort of became my child, but also became my mother. And, it's very deep. And so it was, I definitely try to follow my gut and follow my heart and not overthink things, but I'm just, a massive brainiac. So that's been a whole process of deciding your values. I mean, that's something that we don't teach emotional intelligence to kids. We don't teach a lot. A lot of this stuff is suddenly you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 80s, like, wait a minute, what is that again?
I had a boss, we were talking about EQ, your IQ, your emotional IQ, and he said he doesn't believe in that. And I was like, yeah, I bet you don't.
I bet you do not.
I can see why it would behoove you not to believe that's a thing.
Well, I remember when I was at a certain point, I was like, yeah, this thinking thing is I'm painting myself into a corner with this. And I'm going to start not trying to cover over my feelings with, various behaviors. I'm going to abstain from various behaviors and see what that feels like.
Yeah.
And that's a huge decision, of course, a big decision that many people in our culture are making. I cried for 3 years. Wow. I literally was like, I may be crying. I had to get to a place where I was like, I guess this is the new me. I just cry. You know what? Not all day, every day.
I hate to brag, but once I got on Wellbutrin, I was like, oh, I don't obsess about shit anymore. Amazing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know. A lot of
chemically, I did have something that the difference was so drastic that I was like, yeah, I needed this.
Yeah. Okay. If it works. I don't know why. I think partly because I was in a moment of trying to not have chemicals.
Right.
I didn't like the idea of, even though people said, give it a shot. I was like, I'm going to wait. I'm just going to keep waiting. I never said no, but I was just sort of not yet. And that's a great tool I have discovered. Not right now.
Yeah.
You don't always have to say no. You can just say, even in relationships, it's not exactly how I want it, but not right now. It isn't how I want it. And just the learning of patience and just to be able to say, not right now. I mean, the thing about decision making is one reason people are so afraid of it and why it's so scary is the word decide comes from a word that means to cut off. It's connected to homicide and suicide and all those other side words. And the side means to cut. So, the idea
I never
is...
thought of that, yeah.
I know, because there is some brainy stuff in the book. And so it's not all emotions and stories. And then, it starts to, once you start realizing that, you're like, that is my fear of decisions. You are afraid you're cutting off. And you do cut off options, and you just have to be there's not one right way. Right. I got to a place where I was like, I'm okay with not knowing. I started to tell myself, sometimes I will experiment with telling myself something, whether I believe it or not. I'm like, what if I believe this? And I was like, what if I believe that I love the unknown? There's more God there. What if that was true? And I started telling myself that. Sometimes I'll do it almost sarcastically or ironically. Once I heard somebody say everything's unfolding in divine and perfect order. And I almost hit them. But then I realized, like, why am I so emotional about that? And then I was like, I might be jealous that they think that. I might want to believe that, but don't think like I'm allowed to or something because I'm so smart. And I was like, all right, maybe. And then I started saying it super sarcastically all the time. And that was sort of funny. And then there was one night at UnCab right before the show. And you guys have been, you know what it is before the show. It's just one of those nights when everything was falling apart. People weren't showing up and there was a tech problem. And it was just one of those nights. And I'm trying to handle everything and still be ready to get on stage. And I was so flustered. But at a certain point, you've put in your, and I just like got on, I was just like, well, this is it. It's going to be great. Here I go. And I got on stage, sang my opening number. And then the first thing out of my mouth was like, well, let me just say this. Everything is unfolding in divine and perfect order. And everybody laughed and I laughed. And somehow the laughter did sort of turn everything around. The show was great. And I started to think like, oh my God, I do actually believe this.
Yeah. It's disgusting how vibrations and energy are actually real no matter what anyone believes. Like the tone of the room, the feeling, the vibe, whatever it is, that does, and it influences everything from then on.
And that's why you have to go like, oh, your thinking is a brainwave. Mm-hmm. So once you start believing that everything is waves and, get into the science of that, you're like, well, obviously my thoughts, you don't want to say like, my thoughts are creating reality. It's not like I think there's going to be a cup of coffee there and a cup of coffee appears. But once you start thinking in certain patterns, then the first time I heard that your thoughts create emotions, again, I got violent. I was like, that just can't be true. That can't be true. It's the other way around, obviously. And then, you start experimenting with it. And I guess that's one of the things I really have gotten over the past, some years, and this book really reinforced, is this experience of life of experimenting as a way of making decisions. Like, you don't have to say, like, I'm having kids, and then you can see, like, I think I am gonna, and what would that be like? And, there's a way of exploring that I don't know that we're encouraged to do.
Yeah, because I feel where everything feels so black and white, like, yes or no, that's it. Where it's just kind of like, no, we should be able to kind of, like feel our options out. And I love that, like, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Also,
not yet.
The idea
is so cool.
People always ask, like, what do you regret? Like, what's your biggest regret? And
oh, my God, I cover this. Yeah.
I am very much Sagittarius. Like, almost all of my things hit Sagittarius.
What does that mean? I don't really know what the Sagittarius thing is.
We can just go forward.
Oh,
we're very restless. Wow. We just go forward. So in that way, I'm like, I don't know. I don't like I don't really have. Things could have been different and easier, but I don't think I regret it either. And I also kind of would choose chaos over complacency. Like, I would choose destruction over, like, I always say it, I've said it to you, Betsy, that, like, if I'm sighing about something, if I find myself sighing, I'd rather the whole world burn around me than me have to be like, about something. Like, I'd rather have to rebuild. Rebuilding is so much more, it seems so much more, I don't know, like something I would rather do than to be unhappy continuously.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's so good to know your preferences. But there's the three forces: creative, destruction, and state, and sort of continuation. And those three things are the three, call them goddesses or whatever. Those three things are the things that are about, how life works. It's one of those three. We all have nobody likes who likes the destruction principle? We're all always trying to stay out of the destruction, but you're saying you prefer it. You prefer to burn it down.
If it's a fast destruction, yes. like when I moved to LA, it was a decision I made, and then 2 weeks later I moved.
Good for you.
Like it was just like one day I was like upset because I needed to find a new place to live and a new job, and my mom was on the phone as I was like crying, and then she called me 40 minutes later and said, I booked you a one-way ticket. You'll figure it out. And I was like, you're right. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some really kick-ass parenting.
Yeah. She hates when I complain. No, but she was right. She was right.
But she knew you so well. I mean, not every child would respond to that. And she knew what you needed. And oh my God, that's beautiful.
And then there was no hesitation. Then it was just like, all right, let's full speed ahead.
Yeah. Huh, that's interesting. I am not so fortunate. I definitely do have regrets. But I mean, I thought about it a lot and I talked to a lot of people about it. And I definitely have less and less regrets than, it's funny. Once you start to sort of understand that you have regrets and really look at them, you have to live differently so that you're not creating new regrets. Mm-hmm. Like you sort of see what you regretted, and then there is a way to diminish. And, it's so weird because so many interviews with famous people who gets interviewed, people who have, who are, have a reason to be interviewed. And then when people say, do you have any regrets? You'll often hear in an interview, no, I have no regrets. But that's, people will say everything that I did just got me here. And, so how can I regret any of it? It's like, but you're in a place where people even care what you did. So obviously you're in a good place. So now you don't regret anything. But what about 7 years ago, 10 years ago, when you were like super struggling and living on a couch, in a closet? Did you regret anything?
I should add the caveat that like most social interactions, I do walk away regretting something I've said. But as far as decisions, I feel pretty good about those.
Well, I have to say, Marcy, conversation is one decision after another.
Oh, well.
I mean, I think of writing as I think that's why writers really have thought about this a lot, because when we write, we sit there, every single word is a decision.
Yes.
And I'm always telling students, you've got to get out of second draft head when you're in first draft. I think that's the hardest thing for
such a good way
young
to
writers
phrase it.
to learn. Is like at first you have to be super uncritical and then you have to be super critical. But if you're super critical at the beginning, but it's hard because, as you get to be a more practiced writer, you're making these decisions in your first draft that are more directed and you have a better way of making them. And, your first drafts are better. You get to a place where your first drafts you're still saying they can suck and there's still a lot wrong and there's still a mess and there's still, first drafts, but they're not as, you think back to your first drafts when you were, a baby, those were some pretty unfocused shit.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Think about my first pilot. And I was like, I only had an A story. I didn't even worry about the rest. And it was like 20 pages. I was like, this is it, right? But
my first draft, my first script, I was like, well, you can write crazy dialogue. I mean, your dialogue's amazing, but like you have no sense of structure. I was like, I'm not interested at all in the structure.
No.
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Someone once explained it in our room that think of it as like positions on a basketball team or even a baseball team. That like there's going to be someone who's the first baseman or the person who's really good at structure. There's going to be someone who's really good at act breaks or writing jokes. And so you don't have to be good at every single one of those things. It's great if you are a great first baseman and you can hit a home run as well. But you don't also have to know how to be a pitcher and an outfielder.
Right. That's a great way of saying it. Well, I mean, you do get better at the things. I mean, you try to, and I think this is true in life as well. You try to get better at your worst things and then you try to know the things that are never going to really be good, and you just let those go.
Yeah.
Be like,
but
that's just not
like realizing like, this is just not my thing. I'm gonna let it go. That's like a big decision.
It can be surprising too. You're like, I thought I could cook. I thought I could, but as it turns out, actually, no.
I cannot.
I don't know whether I got worse or I was just blind to my ineptness previously.
Another thing happens though, that when you when you're brand new at something, you don't know how to criticize it yet. And when you get a little better, all of a sudden you know all the ways you can do it wrong, and it gets scarier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the sophomore slump is a real it's a real thing. You know just enough to tear every new idea down. And I feel like I'm just trying to, because I only wrote on one television show, and then it's ended. So I'm like, oh, do I know how to do this now?
You did.
Or even like my second season there, that I was like, I'm more scared. And then third season, I was like, oh God, but I know how to write too. It's just very funny how like.
But at least you knew what you knew what it was. So,
Yes, I understood.
Yeah.
Sophomore slump.
I'm through all these years of UnCab, which was so much about people doing, fresh material all the time. So it was a lot the first time out. Yeah. But sometimes you would see somebody bringing something back, and it wasn't really totally against the rules if you were reframing it or using it as a setup or it was part of a bigger thing. And the second time was always the worst. Always got worse. But then the third time things started to get better again, and then it could start to grow naturally. Yeah. But because the second time you're trying to like make it be like that first time rather than letting it be what it is.
Yep.
And that decision also, the being in the now and the being in the here and the acceptance, I think the decision to be in acceptance of what is life on life's terms and however you want to say it, that's one of the hardest things. And sometimes you have to do it. I'll even say something happened the other day that I'm not even, was so in the moment and didn't like it, and I didn't want it to be that way. And I spent 3 days going like, I don't want it to be this way, but this is the way it is. 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want it to be this way, but this is the way it is. I knew there was nothing I could do to change it, but I still felt bad about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the fourth day, I woke up and I was fine. I don't know. It's weird.
I think those stages of grief exist in a lot of ways. It doesn't have to be a death. It can be a lot of stages of grief, of, denial, anger, depression, all the things I think will happen. And they don't happen in a specific order or even at one at a time. I think.
Yeah.
They definitely don't happen. I think that's one of the, that's such a great thing to point out, because really it's been given to us as if it is like these steps that you do in a row.
Yeah.
When you're in denial and then suddenly, I don't know what's one of the other, and then they pop around.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you can be in acceptance one day and then 6 months later pop right out of it.
It's over. Yeah. Oh, I'm not in acceptance anymore. But I was. But how did that happen? I totally was. I was. I think sometimes it's the accumulation of things too. It's like you're in acceptance about that thing that you've been grieving over, and then you lose a job, say, and then you're fine. You get over it. Sure, this is life, and then 6 months later, some other quote unquote bad thing, because everything is unfolding in divine and perfect order, so nothing's bad, happens. And suddenly this other thing that you thought you were over pops back up because it's been activated by, we use the word trigger a lot in our culture, and maybe the word trigger is even triggering at this point. I'm just,
stop saying it.
It's like, we've all had emotions this whole time. People have been saying upsetting things for a long, long time.
I mean, it's such a gun culture word.
Yes.
This idea that we're all being triggered constantly. There was a period where I was really moving around a lot. I moved 18 times in 2 years.
Woof.
And it was, I was like life revolution, and I'm on the move. And, it did end up being like truly one of the most miraculous times, but it was hard. It was like super hard. And so, and I have to say, even now, and my life, even now, I feel like I still have shallow roots. And even though this is perfect for the show, my hairdresser sometimes channels my mother.
Okay.
I didn't even think, that wasn't even on my list of what to tell you.
Can we put a pin in that really quick? And I'm going to come back to it because I love that. And I'm just going to ask you the thing we ask every single guest, which is, what, if anything, do you believe about the paranormal?
Okay, wow.
And this can be as broad
we could talk 8 hours and we didn't even get to that yet. This is the big thing, right? okay, I believe in everything. I believe I've had experience with orbs to the point where people were, strangers sending me orbs. But my experience with orbs was like, I heard about them and then I got mad that I wasn't getting any in my pictures. And then I said out loud, why don't I get any orbs in my pictures? And the next picture I took, there were orbs in it.
Whoa.
And then that night, I was actually at the time writing a column for LA Yoga Magazine called My Other Car is a Yoga Mat. And we were going to see a guru. And I'm into everything, but I'm sort of not a guru girl. I'm not like I'm not like a guy who's the guy. I don't know.
Right.
So, but
Not a follower.
Anyway, like that, yeah. So we're going to see this guru, and it was exactly not my kind of thing. It was like I was
absolutely
like
not for me.
Like a hatha yoga girl, and it was like the singing, and then everybody was like bowing down. I'm Jewish, it's like the bowing down at somebody's feet. I wasn't into it.
Oh yeah,
but there was a lot of singing, and it was kind of joyful, and there was a good vibe. And we were talking about wavelengths. Anyway, I was like, well, I'm here. I guess I'm going to do it. So I'm standing, and then I got to like the part where you're supposed to like, kneel, and it was like a very intense love vibe, like super intense.
Whoa.
And then I got home and I took a picture in my backyard, and everybody else was wearing white. This was a big deal. Everybody else was wearing white, and I was wearing black because I'm, me, and I didn't know it was that kind of yoga where you're supposed to wear white. So anyway, I'm wearing, so I come on, but he shows up in bright pink, kind of the color I'm wearing now.
Cool.
I know the listeners can't see it, but it was like really electric. And then I came home and I started shooting in the backyard. So sometimes I would just shoot for orbs because they hung around in our olive tree a lot, and and then I looked, and so I shot above my head, and there was an orb, bright pink, just the same color as what he was wearing.
What?
And then I looked at the pictures of the night, and it was like they were crazy orbs all around the picture, the artwork, and around where the music was, and it was intense. Okay, so fine, fade out, fade in. I'm on stage one night telling this story, and somebody takes a picture of me, and that bright pink orb comes back.
Oh my!
And so
God.
I published this story, and then I write about it for Yoga Magazine, and then I published the story, and then people start sending me pictures like crazy. Well, is this an orb? What about this one? How So anyway, so I believe in levels. I believe in. I had a lot of resistance to. So do you want me to tell more stories here? Because I've got
this is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So I would say that, and then at that point, I was like, I didn't even know if I could define what God was, but I believed in everything at that point. I was like, I was living in the desert, and I took like a little desert hiatus, and I was living, and
That'll
everything.
Do it. The desert will do it.
The desert will do it. Yeah. And you're with the skies, and it was leading up to 2012, and there was so much like chatter and UFOs and oh my God, all of it. And I was in every rabbit hole. And so I got invited to the Louise Hay I Can Do It convention.
Oh my gosh.
Betsy,
do you know Louise Hay? She has a book called You Can Heal Your Life, I believe. And basically like every ailment you have is associated with some emotion you have or something like maybe like you're like, need to heal a relationship with your father or whatever. If your finger hurts, it's like that kind of specific. And then she has mantras for how you can overcome it.
She was a big part of there in the 80s when during the AIDS crisis in West Hollywood, there was a moment of spiritual healing. And I have to say that book, and I want to get back to the conference because it's an insane story. But that book, I had a blood disease when I was 5, and it was an autoimmune disease. And I always made the joke, like, you know what? I was 5. I couldn't think of any other way to get out of my family. It was so claustrophobic. I mean, it was a joke, but it's the joke I would make. And when I finally saw her book, like, I hadn't really read her book, even though I knew who she was. And she, more than writing this book, she then started a publishing company, and she is really the doyenne of the new age publishing world. Her publishing company has published Wayne Dyer and Marianne Williamson, and I just had that. Did I say that right? Moment.
Yes.
And it's just so many people that you've heard of are under her Hay House publishing wing, and she's made so much money doing it because people were hungry for it. And then there were cruises and conventions.
Oh my gosh.
And, the whole thing.
I would go on that cruise. I would go on that cruise.
Yeah, I would go on that
anyway,
cruise. Yeah,
I didn't mean to derail
No,
you.
not
So
at all.
you were at-
No, I know, but,
Okay.
but please. And in that book, when I finally saw it, I looked up my disease, and it said claustrophobia of family. Yeah, I mean, it's like that. So it's that world, Anyway, I was a self-help correspondent, sort of in a humor area, self-help correspondent for a radio show on ABC, and they wanted me to go cover the Louise Hay I Can Do It convention in Vegas. So it was like at
fun.
the Venetian Hotel. It was like, if you can imagine that overlap, the Venetian Hotel in Vegas with the woo-woo people. So like where all the books were and the authors, there was also like a McDonald's conference, people like coming through. It was just crazy. Yeah. But anyway, and I was booked to interview a lot of people, and a lot of it was really lovely. Oh, Sonia Choquette was so delightful, and she's like about intuition, very up your alley, and your sixth sense and how to develop your sixth sense. And then I had a thing with a woman named Doreen Virtue, who was a famous angel healer. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you that at that point, I believed in everything except angels. That was like my woo-woo line. I was just like, UFOs, obviously. We don't know if they're, good or bad or 10 different species, but obviously all the hieroglyphics in Egypt. And I had really been going down that. I mean, I hope you've had people on this stuff. Whitley Strieber, I would listen to all the time. And, there's all that stuff where the hieroglyphics in Egypt show space people coming down and having, essentially creating us in their image to mine the earth, which they needed minerals for. That's the theory. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, I was listening to all of it and in the desert and late at night and, Art Bell and, the whole thing. I was just like, I can't believe people don't see it. And I would come back to LA for gigs and I'd be just like, nobody knows. Nobody knows.
That's so funny.
Why don't people know? I just felt like I did like people. And a lot of it now people do know. I'm always too ahead of I'm always a little ahead of my time. I'm like, why can't I just be in my time? I just want to be in my time. I don't want to be ahead anymore. And even with this book, it's an audiobook, and I was like going to write a book, and then it turned into an audiobook. I was like, again, ahead of my time, because people are like, what's an audiobook? I'm like, it's a book, but only audio. So I listen to it, but it's not a podcast? No, it's a book, and you listen to it. Anyway.
It's easy to pack.
So easy to pack. Exactly. And so anyway, I go and I get to Doreen Virtue, and I'm like, and she's like telling me, you have to ask or they can't help you. And she says, well, let me do it on you. It's much easier to do than to explain. I'm like, all right, sure. And I really was like, if angels are so powerful, why is there all that stupid angel art? I mean, it's like, really? If they really can't control their own image, how powerful are they?
It was
anyway,
a little taste, little class, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all right, there's some good stuff. Anyway, so she goes, she's like cutting lines and, emotional ties with my mom and the this and the that. And then she goes, oh, your angels want me to tell you. No dairy. And I was like, all right. She said, and your angels want me to tell you. You can't smoke. And I was like, anything?
Yeah.
Nope, you can't smoke anything. And then I go, well, can I drink? Yes, your angels say you can drink. Which I thought gave the angels more credibility. They weren't against partying
they
per
weren't
se.
all against everything. Yeah.
So then she said, what I have to tell you before I tell you the next part is that for the past 3 years before this, I'd had this back pain, like ongoing back pain. I'd done everything. I could do a hilarious 20 minutes on the blind acupuncturist and the, the chiropractor who was the bed and the this and the that. And, nothing, would go away and come back. You know how chronic pain is. So, but it was never really diagnosed. I could never really get a diagnosis. Nobody could say what it was. It never would really go away. My friend Meryl Marco told me, it's, all back pain is emotional. I was like, la, 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 la. I can't hear that. So
also with some of this stuff, it does sound like you're causing it and can feel like, like it's like you're blaming the person. Like,
yes.
that you're to blame for it. And sometimes I think that's why people are very resistant to that.
Yes,
Yeah.
my fault. Well, if it's all, so anyway, so she says, well, do you have any questions for your angels? And I was like, well, yeah. I've been having this back pain for, years. And I just, what is it? Just that. That's my question. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oh, you have a huge psychic dagger in your back. And I was like, oh my God.
What?
That is exactly what it feels like. And she says, do you want me to take it out?
Well,
And
yes.
I was like, no. I mean, now, as long as I know what it is. No. And she was like, okay, it's out. And, but like, no, like hocus pocus and no, like, your angels are coming. It was like, just like it's out. And then we, some other further things about the angels and my grandparents and whatever. I wander away and, on my career, various.
Yeah.
But now I'm a little bit like uncentered and I feel weird and I'm like, what's happening? I mean, I am in the concourse of the Venetian Hotel with, thousands of woo-woos and McDonald's, executives.
The ceiling has
so I don't know.
clouds
It
on
might have
it,
just
so.
been that. But then I went to a Gary Zukav lecture and then, I just did the whole thing. And he's sort of in the particle physics. And anyway, that night, it still was feeling like it wasn't hurting. But then I got afraid to go to sleep because I was like, what if I go to sleep and I wake up and it's back? And I just went in the bathroom and I just was on my knees and it was like a marble floor. And that has a sort of spiritual feeling, the sort of stone. And I got into child's pose and I put my third eye on the stone and I was like, it still feels okay. And I like got up and looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, who are you now? Is this the new you? Do you believe in angels now? Do Jews even believe in angels? And, subsequently I've done all this research and Jews like so believe in angels. And it's like every single thing about angels was completely part of my story of the past, 3 years. It was like wandering around in the desert. I had been evicted from my house in Los Angeles. It was like, the good, Garden of Eden. There was all this like, very mystical signs and symbols. There had been this whole following the signs of the birds to get there. And anyway, the next morning I was leaving and the valet said, did you win? And I said, yeah, I really did. And he said, yeah, me too. I just got my pilot's license. Look for me up in the sky.
Whoa.
And I said, I will. And then, in another whole story that I'll just say, I had been given 10,000 crystals to give away. And I always had them in my pockets. And I gave him a crystal, and he said, whatever. We said goodbye. And I got into the car, drove home. And the back pain never came back.
Wow.
So I'm a believer. Yeah. I am just full on a believer. And those crystals also was really interesting because they're so beautiful. And it was, the masseuse was really somebody I had gone to for craniosacral massage thinking it was going to help the back pain. And she was like, we got to be friendly and she'd come to the house and she, at one point she came over and she was like, ooh, I know, I'm going to give you the crystals. And I was like, what? She said, oh yeah, somebody left me 10,000 crystals and I'm supposed to give them away. And I've done it once before and I just, so many people, you give them away.
10,000.
And she kept bringing them over. And my name, Beth Lapides, means, Beth is house in Hebrew. Like when you see a synagogue like Beth Israel or Beth whatever it is, it's the house of God. And then Lapidus means stone in Greek. And so my name essentially means stone house. And I would always think, or stone in the house. But so, a lot of my story, which is about, finding a home and sort of, wandering and being in search of the place and making a home for others with UnCabaret and having that be a home. And there's just a lot of levels of homeness in my work and life. And anyway, so I had those crystals and I was always giving them away.
That's so cool.
Did you get rid of all of them?
Oh, yeah, but people tell me, I would bring them to shows. I'd give them to the whole audience.
Start throwing them like Mardi Gras beads.
I would. I'd walk through the crowd on the way onto stage. Here's one. Here I have a crystal. And people are telling me all the time, I have the crystals on the way, on the thing. I would give them to baristas. It'd be like, that's such good soy foam. Congratulations. You won a crystal. And then I once had a barista say, I really need this. I just checked my girlfriend into an insane asylum. I was like, take two. Absolutely.
One for you, one for her.
But then people started asking me, how do I use it? What do they do? Why what is it? And so then I started doing the research. And the thing that was most interesting about it, and you're showing science really do not, they intersect, it's an overlap, because the thing about the crystals is crystals are receivers. When they made the first radios, the antenna were crystals. And when you learn about your third eye, your pineal gland in science terms, it actually has crystals in it. And one of the really most scary things about modern medicine and modern culture and modern what we're living through is there's a lot of denigration of what those, of this area, which we use to really chart our way through the world. So protect your pineal gland is what I'm saying, or pineal. And it's, this is insane. You guys are going to love this so much. So it is called that because it's shaped like a pine cone. And if you go to the Vatican, you'll notice a giant sculpture of a pine cone right in front of the Vatican. What is that? Why is there a pine cone? Because it's our pineal gland. Even the Vatican is saying, this is the seat of your intuition. This is what you need to protect this. You need to honor this. Whoa. So there's all sorts of overlapping cool stuff like that. So I learned about, and then it's about what are we receiving? And then, of course, 2012, the alignment of the planets, and there's radio waves, and I don't know, and then it turns into a radio show that people want to tune out of. So anyway, and I don't really know, but, and I don't know, but I am open to understanding all of that. And I'm fascinated by the, what you can know is your own experience. I think ultimately that's what, when you're saying, what are your stories? And those are real stories. I mean, that back pain never came back.
That's amazing.
So cool.
That's amazing.
Actually, you know what? I always say it never came back because it's the easiest thing to say. It came back once. It came back once when I saw everybody says, who gave it to you? And I, of course, did ask her, too. Who's to blame?
For this psychic sword.
And she was like, well, it's a younger guy. I was like, look, I'm in the comedy world. Everyone's a younger guy. I don't know who that is. But I had an intuition about who it might be. And then I didn't see him for a long time. And then I saw him. And it was, and I do think it was unintentional. I think it was somebody who was just upset and angry and grief struck. And I was just in the path of it. Because I saw this person and then there was a twinge back. But because I knew it was an energetic thing at that point, I did some work on myself. I was able to do some energetic work on myself. I called a theta healer that I knew, and she did some work over the phone. Yeah. And then it subsided again.
Wait,
and then
I have an idea for all of our listeners then. As they go to bed tonight, before you go to sleep, call back all your negative daggers, your negative
that's so
ammunition.
Nice.
Call it back tonight.
Whoa.
Oh my God, this is the best show.
Maybe we can help some, because I mean, we could do it too without realizing that we're doing it.
Right.
That's right. Exactly. And that is why, to go back to what we were talking about before, the maintenance of a thought, it's hard to describe it. It's like a clarity of thought where it's like you don't want to be like a thought police because you don't want to say I can't be sad or I can't be upset or I can't be angry. But it is the, as you were saying, not the obsessive version of that where you're obsessively thinking negative thoughts. Something arises and you let it go. You don't dwell on it. You don't think bad things about other people. You just don't spend your energy on it.
Processing it is great. Process it, feel it, understand it. But when we dwell in it, we let it fester and consume. And if it's like, when I have people in my life where you're like, we have the same conversation about like something that happened that you don't like, that's not that big of a deal, but we're having it over and over and over again.
Right.
You just gotta like.
Is that me, Marcy? Be honest.
It's a little bit with Betsy and the Taco Bell stuff. No. No.
Everything's new and awesome when I talk about Taco Bell.
But yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to know more about your hairstylist who channels.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
So sometimes I'll be there. It doesn't happen all the time. And he'll just go, who's tan with like light eyes? And he talks like, hello. I'm like, oh yeah, that's my friend Taylor. I mean, it's super specifically. But it's only really ever been Taylor, and Taylor's come a few times, and my mom. Wow. And it's been super. And what I was going to say was like, she says, you think you're not rooted, but you are. And so that was interesting. But she'll come and say things that like she passed in 2019, so not that long ago.
Yeah.
And she's still like making peace with certain things, and she'll come and like share, and it's so her. I mean, it's not always nice. I mean, sometimes it's like at one point or something, and she sat there and like, oh, it's never enough for her. But sometimes it'll be super healing and like thanking me, and sometimes it's like really. And we didn't have the worst, but nor did we have it was not maybe a complete healing relationship when she went, and she wasn't ready to go. She really didn't want to. She hadn't made peace with it. And so it's interesting to see. And sometimes sometimes I'm really on the way there and I'm like, oh, please don't let it go. And sometimes like it'll be before a show and I'm just like, just trying to get my energy together, and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't have the energy for this.
Whoa.
You just say like, no channeling tonight, okay? No channeling.
But I don't. But I do stay open because the information is also very valuable and has been really healing. And it doesn't happen all the time. And he'll go, oh, look, my hand. But one thing I like about it is like, I never would have paid anyone to do it. I'm very suspicious of like the paid psychics. Mm-hmm. Because I do feel the information that comes through is kind of colored by the person that receives it. Mm-hmm. Like you can only really, you're always you. So if it was me, I'm always trying to put a good spin on it because I want to make it come out good. But you don't know who these people are when you're hiring them generally. And so since David is like, I'm not hiring him, it seems purer somehow.
Yeah.
And a cool thing to be like, it's just part of me. It's not my whole career. It's just like a thing that does happen. I don't have to make it happen. If it happens.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not like a charlatan because he's not doing it for money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just completely of service if it comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is super cool, isn't it?
That's very cool.
That's the first time I said that on stage. I was like, okay, this is the most LA thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is very LA.
I was getting a blowout, and my hairdresser channeled my mom. I just can't top it as an LA thing, unless maybe I was like watching the Lakers while it was happening.
Right. That's very funny.
Wow.
Did you have other stories to tell?
I have others. I mean, I have.
But you have one about UnCabaret, you said, or
I do. I have one that's very UnCabaret. So at one point, at one point, I had like a spiritual advisor who was. was like when my whole life was falling apart. And so she was kind of coaching me through this time of my life. And she gave me a card, and it said, like, it was the front was a street sign. And one street was First Street, and the other street was Hope Street. Like the intersection of, it was Hope one way. It was Hope one way. And I said, you know what? I don't even believe in hope. Hope is like it's like in the future, and I'm about the now, and I'm a yogi, and, you know, hope is like, that's the hope that'll kill you. You know, living in Hollywood, I have heard people say that, and
Yes.
and I kind of took that on. It's the hope that'll kill you. Well, obviously, it's not the hope that will kill you. You know, that's the most ridiculous thing. But I had somehow taken on that belief. And because I loved her and I felt like she was so supportive of me, as I was knocking about during this time of my life, wherever I landed, I like put this card up where I could see it, even though I don't believe in hope. So fade out, fade in. UnCabaret had been closed for a year or two, and I was doing this show called 100% Happy 88% of the time, and in which, you know, the story of the angels and the finding, you know, the sort of sojourn into the desert. And then somebody turned me and my then new partner onto a venue, and they need something, and we went to the venue, and they wanted us to do something, and you know how venues are in LA, and there was like actually a gig, which an in-town gig with upfront money was, you know, in LA, and that was kind of a miracle. And then what were we going to do? And, you know, I said, you know, I came up with a few ideas. And then Mitch said, well, let's do UnCabaret. And I was like, no, I'm not doing UnCabaret. UnCabaret is dead to me. I'm never doing that show again. That show has sucked the life out of me more than once. And he's like, but everybody loves UnCab. And, you know, let's just do one. Just do one for your birthday. And it'll be fun. I'll do it with you. And he's a musician. And it's like, we'll have a band. And I'll, you know, it'll be different. And it'll be fun. It'll be, you know, we'll reinvent it. And I was just like, I couldn't actually come up with a very clear other idea. So I was like, all right, we'll do one for my birthday. So we walk out of the venue, and I realize that the venue is on the corner of First and Hope Streets. Literally the thing. Okay.
What?
And then I turned around, because then I had a moment of like, oh my God, that's weird. And then I turned around to look at the venue, and I realized that the venue itself was called First and Hope.
That's
What?
That's amazing.
It was like, so, you know, I'm not actually a vision board girl. I haven't really worked with vision boards a lot, but I started to think this is like the smallest vision board in the world. It was a card that I was looking at, that I was carrying around all this time.
Whoa.
And just manifested. So that did shake me.
That's a very cool sign.
Wow,
Very
that
cool.
Is so everything about it is so specific.
Yes.
Right? It's so specific. And so we ended up running there for 7 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like you said,
My God,
especially
that's so cool.
And 7, you know, 7 is a very mystical number if you're going to get into the numerology of things. I'm sure you've had people on talking about the magic of numbers. But.
yeah.
Anyway, so that's
it's above, way over my head though. The numerology. It's just something I haven't like touched down on enough to like fully remember and understand it all.
Well, I don't think so. Here's the thing. Just what you were saying at the beginning of the show. Numbers are vibrations like anything else. And they partly have shapes, and they partly have, you know, various vibrations. And, you know, you feel what a number 1 is. I mean, you just feel it. You know what that is. You know what a 3 is. You know about triangles. You know about how triangle energy. You know that 2 has to do with couples and sort of a dialectic. You know that 4 is a square and is a very stable form, and, you know, and it goes on from there. 5 is kind of the shape of a home plate, and 6 is a creative number. 7, you hear 7s all the time. 7 is magic. 8 is infinity. And I learned a lot about that in the desert, because you see the sun, you know, going over the mountain. You can see it moving in the sky. And I started to weirdly start tracing infinity signs without thinking on my, you have that like nervous habit, and you're like, with my thumb on my finger. And I started looking into it, and then I saw that there's a thing science has in the sky, where the sun makes an infinity sign in the sky every year. And it's called an analemma. And that's the shape that the sun traces.
Travels or whatever?
Yes, is as an infinity sign. And I started to think like, it's like the universe is trying to tell us that there's like infinite possibility. That is literally what light is like infinite possibility. And so, and 9 is, the end of a cycle. And, when you think about 9/11 and what the numbers of that are, and you look at the 11 from 9/11 and you see that it's the same shape as the two towers, and it's sort of the end of, dualism. And in some ways, it's like where we are in a big, in terms of like big woo-woo, we're sort of at the end of this us and them. Either it will all end and that's what's meant to be, and everything works out for the best, so apparently we're meant to end. I don't know. So
all good things do. So
or there's a sense of one of the things that's making it so hard right now is that the change from an us and them culture to a we culture is so hard. People, the letting go of us and them, and that's the two. So really the felling of the towers, however it happened, this picture of two things that can never meet, really, they just go endlessly up to the sky, separate always, is, to me, that was the really biggest message of 9/11. And instead of being the end of it, obviously it just got worse. So hoping against hope that eventually everything that we have happening in our world now that's of news is because it's borders, it's us and them. The whole environmental thing, we can't get the idea that it's all one thing. There are no borders. It's not us and them. The virus, it's not, there's no way to contain it because yours is mine. There is no separation. It's, us, there is no us and them. It just goes on and on. Every single big issue we have, the whole otherness, violence in America, the division between the different, so-called political parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
Those are, yeah. Well, I said it was over my head, and then you explained it so well. So
You see.
You're right. We could talk for 8 hours, but
Let's move on. I've told a lot of stories.
And if you think of more, that's great. We want to hear them. But I was going to see if you have time to listen to a listener story.
I'm here for you.
All right.
Whoa.
I'm going to pull it on up.
Wow. That pine cone thing at the Vatican is so strange.
Did you already Google it? Are you looking at it?
No, I haven't yet. I'm going to totally look that up, though.
I forgot about it for a long time until just now. It's one of those things. Like at a certain point, you have to go like, look, put it aside. You got to write a script. Let's go.
That is very cool. Okay, so we have someone sent a definition along with their story. So I'm just going to say the definition. I think we pronounce this Faraday cage. So definition of Faraday cage: a grounded metallic screen completely surrounding a space to protect it from external electrostatic influence. So we got that. And then they said this will make sense after we listen to the voice memo. So we're just putting it out there now. Okay. All right. So you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
This is how I remember it. It was my last night in Vegas. I was staying at the Luxor, and I was asleep. The dream that I had was there was an entity trying to get into my body by going into my mouth. I did not want this to happen, so I remember I screamed no and shut my mouth, snapped my mouth shut really quickly. I woke up after that, looked at the time and said, it's only, I want to say it was around 5 a.m., and said, I have time to go back to sleep before I have to drive home tomorrow. Went back to sleep. Nothing else happened. Came home. the night I came home, I had another dream. This time, the entity was trying to force its way into me by holding my body down. So, again, during a dream. So this time in the dream, what I did was I manifested or created a Faraday cage around my body. Not what a Faraday cage is for, because I also electrified it, so the entity would have to let me go. The entity let me go. As soon as it let me go, my cat, who had passed in May, jumped on my chest and started hissing, and it went away, and I woke up. Now, the cat was tortoiseshell, and tortitude is real. So it does not surprise me in the least that my little 6-pound cat, when she died, could scare off and protect me from some sort of entity trying to get into my body. When I woke up that day, went into the bathroom, I didn't realize I was doing it until I looked in the mirror, but I was rubbing my jaw because it was hurting me for the last 2 days. And when I looked at my arm, there was a bruise on my arm in the shape of a thumb, where the entity was holding me down. Now, I almost took a picture of it, but I decided why. It's just a picture of a bruise. It doesn't really show or prove anything. But ever since my Tasha, who passed, protected me, the entity has not tried again. And hopefully it has learned its lesson and never will.
Wow. I love that. She jumped right into that. She just told us. And another Vegas story.
Yes, I've noticed that. That's a good coincidence.
Oh, wow. That's terrifying.
Wow. Good for her. She fought back.
Yeah. I too have a tortoiseshell cat, and they do have tortitude. In fact,
What is tortitude?
it's just like, so tortoiseshells are just that black and white kind of mottled, and just that they have a bit of an attitude. Like,
Oh, I see.
like she's very gentle, but she definitely will like let me know that she's annoyed by things. And I have two other kittens. I have her 2 kittens with her. Pandemic foster situation that never ended, right? So anytime someone comes to the house, though, even though they are terrified of like me sometimes still, but if someone walks onto the porch, they start growling and run like as a team there.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like
Tortitude.
tortitude.
So scary, though. That the entity trying to get in.
Into the mouth 2 nights in a row.
And it
like, that's
followed
so
her.
wild. Yeah, it followed her.
Is it
In the
terrible?
Luxor.
Is it terrible that I don't think that that's crazy that at the Luxor, is that the one that's shaped
Like a pyramid.
that's the one that's shaped like a pyramid?
Yeah, I've stayed
Oh,
there a bunch.
yes.
It's shaped like a
Oh, you're
pyramid,
right.
and it is Las Vegas, and that does not shock me at all. That something
there's-
a little dark would be happening there.
Yes.
Betsy,
There's
The Luxor.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoa.
Good for her.
that's really, really scary. You know, a lot of the stories that we get on here are not so like scary and dark. A lot of them are just, you know, like someone in their family has visited, or like, you know, I mean, we do get a good amount of like shadow people, but that kind of thing of something literally trying to get inside of you is the worst type of story to hear.
So scary.
Yes. I mean, you know, sometimes you pass people on the street and you start to look at them and you're like, look away. Like,
Yeah.
evil lives among us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People,
Definitely.
yeah, people who just give you that bad vibe.
And are they even people? I mean, you pass people who seem very spirit-like, dark spirits,
Yeah.
hooded, and
Ugh.
I don't know.
Ooh, that's too spooky to
It's-
think about.
It is. It's terrible too, because you want to think that every person, like, you know, for any bad thing they might do, there's a reason they might do it. There's history there, trauma. But then there is the possibility that maybe some people are bad.
Evil. That evil does exist. I think, you know, and there's that phrase, stay out of harm's way, where you really like don't stay at the Luxor. Seriously.
It's not that bad. It's pretty fun and funny.
Or just make sure you're grounding and protecting yourself before. I'm like a big believer in, like, yes, things can happen to us. We can also take a lot of precautions to make sure they don't.
What are your precautions? What do you do?
What are you going to do at the Luxor?
I mean, I guess I would just, I don't know, like put like a little protective, like I'm one of those people who will sometimes, I have a lot, I cherry pick what I want to use today. But if I were freaking out, I would either do like a light bubble around me, or I'm not above calling in an archangel to be like, can you watch over me while I'm partying?
Yeah.
Jesus, protect us while we do these shots. Not above it.
Right. Well, like I learned with Doreen Virtue, who, by the way, now declaims she's like, that was all wrong. I was wrong about everything. So I don't know what to think.
Not making it up, but just that she interpreted.
No,
it
not that she's making up. I don't know. She's gone on to something else. Anyway, but you know,
book. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But this thing where you can't get help unless you ask for help. You have to actually, and that's partly with the angels, but I think also partly in life, learning how to ask for help and not be a victim. The separation of those two ideas is so huge, because we have such a victim culture, but also people who are unable to ask for help. And so to be able to like give help and receive help, both of those things, those are huge lessons in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
I think so.
And it's really hard to ask for help.
So hard.
But if you think about it, like how willing you would be to help,
it helps.
Then you
helps.
You have to admit that maybe someone else would be willing to help you.
Yes, and also it's a lot of ego to think you don't need any. It's like, well, I should be able to do it myself. I should be able to figure it out myself, and do it myself. But also, that's a very unconnected way of living, and what you say exactly. It's like that equal to give and receive.
Yeah,
the balance of giving and receiving.
And the more generous you are, I not that it necessarily is exactly karma in that way, but I feel like the more generous you are, the more likely people will even think of you to help, or I don't know. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Right. Whoa.
This has been really great. I've enjoyed this.
It's been awesome.
Thoroughly.
I'm so glad. Me too.
Beth, tell everyone, remind them about your book and where to find you.
Yeah, now they're like, what was she talking about at the beginning? We're lost.
No, our listeners are going to love it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I am so excited for your listeners to hear So You Need to Decide, my new audiobook.
Yes.
And they can find it everywhere that audiobooks are, which means they can get it on Amazon, which is also Audible, but they also can get it on Libro.fm, which is connected to independent bookstores, and audiobooks.com. It's everywhere, like wherever you get your audiobooks. I think libraries now.
Yeah.
So so that's that. So You Need to Decide. And it's 8.5 hours and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm on socials at Beth Lapides, BETHLAPIDES. And on Instagram, there's an underscore between the Beth and Lapides. Don't let that throw you off. Okay. Bad decision.
We didn't know then what we know now.
We didn't know.
All the information is on my website. UnCabaret also, if you're not yet coming to shows, we are again live in Los Angeles.
Woo-hoo.
And we're also still UnCabaret Zooming, which we started in March of 2020 and have been doing persistently, and it's been so much fun. It's a very we did it fast, and because UnCabaret is so conversational and intimate anyway, it was really a perfect format for us to adapt to, and those are so much fun, and those are once a month now. That's and all the information is on UnCabaret.com. Get on the email list, why don't you?
I'll link it.
You can get updates at all the times.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is so great. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Yeah,
thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to meet you. I hope to see you in the outside of podcast world.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's make it happen. Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to A Funny Feeling.
If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to share, please send us a voice memo, or you can email us just a letter at funnyfeelingpod@gmail.com. I'm Marcy.
I'm Betsy, and don't shit your pants!
That was a HeadGum podcast.